The Manciple's Tale. When Phoebus had his dwelling here on earth, as ancient books report, for what they're worth, he was a paladin of lustiest marrow, better than anyone with bow and arrow. He slew the serpent Python as it lay, coiled in the sunshine, and asleep one day, and many a noble and distinguished deed his bow performed for him as you can read, and every instrument of minstrelsy he well knew how to play, while melody poured from his throat, clear joy to hear him sing. Even Amphion, famous Theban king, who built the town's defences by his singing, was not so skilled in setting echoes ringing. Added to that, he was the handsomest man that ever was heard of since the world began. Why should I make descriptions of his features? He was the fairest living of earthly creatures, and therewithal he was of noblest bearing, filled with high honour, excellence, and daring. This Phoebus, flower in the camp of youth, renowned for bounty, chivalry, and truth, to please himself and signalize his glory, in having vanquished Python, says my story, was wont to carry in his hand a bow. Now in his house this Phoebus kept a crow, lodged in a cage, and there for many a day he taught it speech as one can teach a jay, and fostered it with care. This crow was white as a snowy swan. It could recite, with perfect mimicry of tone and word, what any man had uttered, and the bird would use this talent when told a tale. In all the world there was no nightingale, moreover, with 100,000th part of what it had in merriness and art. Now in his house Phoebus had a wife, who lived with him. He loved her more than life, and night and day he gave her diligence to pleasing her and showing reverence. Except for this, if it's truth they tell us, I have to say he was extremely jealous, and wished to guard her, lest an exhibition be made of him, as those in his condition commonly do. In vain it can't succeed. A good wife, who is pure in thought and deed, should not be checked and spied on. That is plain, and truly it is labour all in vain to check a wicked one. It can't be done. It's imbecility, say I for one, for men to waste their labour checking wives, and so the ancients say who wrote their lives. But to my purpose, as I first began, this excellent Phoebus does the best he can to please her, thinking by his kind address and by his management and manliness that no one could extrude him from her graces. But God knows none can compare in such cases the power to restrain a thing with nature, which nature has naturally implanted in a creature. Take any bird and put it in a cage, and let your heart's intention then engage to foster it tenderly with food and drink, with every dainty mess that thought can think, and keep it clean and nearly as you may. Caged in a cage of gold, however gay, that bird would rather 20,000-fold be in a forest which is rough and cold, feeding on worms and other wretched trash. It's on the watch, and ready in a flash to escape out of the cage and to be gone. Freedom is what it sets its heart upon. Or take a cat, nourish it well with milk and tender meat, make it a couch of silk, but let it see a mouse along the wall, and it abandons milk and meat and all, aye, every other dainty in the house. Such is its appetite to eat a mouse. You see a natural lust in its possession, and appetite has banished its discretion. She-wolves are also of this baser kind. They choose the lowest wolf that they can find, the least in reputation to be mated, when the time comes to have their passions sated. These parallels are all produced to show the faithlessness of men. They do not go for women, not at all. The foul delight of men is wreaking lecherous appetite on lower things than wives, however fair, however true, however debonair. Flesh pines for the new-fangled, curse upon it, and nothing with the stamp of virtue on it will pleasure us for more than a short while. This Phoebus, who was innocent of guile, was well deceived for all his excellent features. She had a man, one of the lowest creatures, beneath him, and of little reputation, worth nothing next to a man of Phoebus's station, and more's the harm, it happens often so, that is a common source of human woe. It chanced his wife, when Phoebus was away, sent for her bully, bully, did I say? Tut, tut, that was a very knavish speech. Your pardon, lords and ladies, I beseech. Wise Plato says, as those who can may read, words should be in accordance with the deed. In tales told properly, a word should bring the sense of being cousin to the thing. I'm blunt, boisterous man, and tell you, there's no real difference at all between a lady wife of high degree, dishonest of body if she be, and some poor wretch, no difference but this, that if so be they both should go amiss, that since the gentlewoman ranks above, she therefore will be called his lady love, whereupon that other woman, being poor, will be referenced as his wench or whore. And as God knows, and so do you, dear brother, one name is just as low as the other. Nor is there difference in my belief between a tyrant and an errant thief, or outlaw when the tyrant has no claim. They told great Alexander just the same, that just because a tyrant has the might by force of arms to murder men downright, and burn down house and home and leave all flat, they call a man a captain just for that. But since an outlaw with his little band cannot bring half such mischief on a land, or be the cause of so much harm and grief, he only earns the title of thief. Well, I'm no scholar, and you shan't be vexed by hearing me enlarge on any text. Back to the table I started, but more fully, with when Phoebus's wife had noticed her bully. They wrought their will in all its transient rage. Now the white crow, still hanging in its cage, beheld their work and never said a word. But once Lord Phoebus had returned, the bird unlocked its throat and sang, "Caw-caw, caw-caw." "What, bird?" said Phoebus, "that's no song for you. Were you not wont to sing your song so gaily that it rejoiced my heart to hear you daily? In tuneful voice, alas, what song is this?" "My God," it said, "I do not sing amiss, Phoebus," it said, "in spite of your worth, of all your beauty and your gentle birth, of all your minstrelsy and singing too, and all your watching someone's hoodwink you, has bleared your eyes, a man whose reputation, compared with yours, has little estimation, not worth a gnat, indeed, upon my life. On your own bed I saw him plumb your wife. What more do you want?" The crow, in his behoof, boldly informed him, giving serious proof of how his wife had done her lechery, and had put shame on him and villainy. He swore he had seen it with his very eyes. Phoebus fell backward at the crow's replies. It seemed to him his sorrowful heart was breaking. Setting an arrow to his bow and taking aim, he bent it in his rage to slay. He killed his wife there is no more to say, and all his instruments of minstrelsy he broke in sorrow for it. Psaltery, lute, harp, guitar, and then he broke his bow and arrows, and he thus addressed the crow. "Traitor," he said, "it was thy scorpion tongue brought my confusion. Oh, my heart is wrung with grief. Why was I born? Would I were dead! O dearest wife, O gem of joy, that shed so grave, so true a light upon our love! Now thou art dead and pale of face, O dove of innocence, that I can swear, O speed of hand too rash to do so foul a deed, O mind confused, O thoughtless rage surprised, that smote a guiltless creature unadvised, O fainting thrust, O prompting to suspect! Where was your thought and wisdom to direct? O every man beware how you are moved. Never believe but what is strongly proved. Strike not too soon, ere you can reason why. Be soberly advised before you try to execute your justice and assuage suspicion by the acting of your rage. Alas, 1,000 in their hasty ire have been undone and brought into the mire. O sorrow, I shall kill myself for grief. And to the crow he said, O wicked thief, now I shall pay you for your lying tale. Once you sang sweetly like a nightingale, but now, false thief, your liquid song is done, and all your snowy feathers every one, never in all your life to utter word. Vengeance shall fall upon you, traitor bird. You and your issue ever shall be black. Their sweetest music like your own shall crack, and you shall croak, foretelling storm and rain. in token that through you my wife was slain. And up he started at the crow, and tore the fair white feathers out that once it bore, and made it black, and took away its song and power of speech, and flung it forth headlong down to the devil, nor do I wish it back. And that's the reason why all crows are black. My lords, this is a parable conveying a moral. Pray take heed of what I'm saying. Never tell anyone in all your life that any other has enjoyed his wife, for he will hate you mortally, believe it. Solomon said that the learned so receive it. Teach every man how to refrain his tongue. But as I said, you won't find me among the scholars. But my mother long ago would say, my son, reflect upon the crow, my son, and hold your tongue, and hold your friends. A wicked tongue but serves the devil's ends. My son, the cross can save you from his net. My son, God in his endless goodness set a wall about the tongue of teeth and lip. Take counsel ere you speak, let nothing slip. My son, too often by some babbling speech many are blasted, so the scholars teach. A little wisely spoken is the rule, will save a man from being cursed for a fool. My son, restrain your tongue in self-denial on all occasions, save in making trial of prayer or speaking in the honor of God, the first of virtues, if you will kiss the rod. My son, is to restrain and guard your tongue, so teach your children this when they are young, my son. Superfluous, unthinking speech, when to say less is still within your reach, and would suffice, will harm you, I was taught. Much chatter is the food of sinful thought. Are you aware what hasty tongues can do, just as a sword can cut an arm in two, or slice it into bits? Dear son, just so, a tongue can sever friendship at a blow. A chatterbox is hateful to the Lord, where here Solomon the wise is in accord with David in his Psalms. And Seneca too, my son, say nothing when a nod will do. Feign to be deaf if you should hear the chatter of any fool that broaches dangerous matter, and adds this Flemish proverb to your diet. If you will learn it, little speech, much quiet, my son. If you have said no wicked word, you need not fear to have been overheard. Whereas a wicked word, I tell you plain, once said, can never be recalled again. What's said is said, and goes upon its way. Like it or not, repent it as you may, he is a slave to any that has heard him tell a tale. He'll suffer for that word, my son. Be cautious, fashion nothing new, by way of tidings, whether false or true, whether you may be with high or low, refrain your tongue, and think upon the crow.